Alrighty, hopefully this thing is live. How's everyone doing tonight? I know I'm starting a little bit early, but I figured I'd get in here and see how everyone's doing. I can't actually see the chat, fun fact, because I'm recording this not in anything where I can see the chat. So we're gonna have some fun tonight streaming V, the programming language. But yeah, I'll wait for people to trickle in a little bit. Next day, maybe next time I'll have a screen up where I can see the chat. That'd probably be smart, but I didn't think of that until just now. So yeah, we're gonna go through some V exercises. Which hopefully shouldn't take us, too long. But I'll be here for a while, hopefully guiding you. If you are new to V, welcome. If you are a longtime fan of V, also welcome. And I hope this is beneficial to both parties. Yeah, while we're waiting for maybe people to figure out that this is happening right now, I think I'll give my pitch for V. This is how I describe it to people. Every programming language has the yes but, right? Python, the yes is it's super easy to program in. Great for beginners, great for people to learn. The but with Python is that it's slow. There are some ways you can speed it up. I know. If you're a Python developer, please don't get mad at me. I love Python. I think it's great. Part of why I like V, actually. We'll get to that in a second. And then other languages like C, C++, super fast, but it sucks to program in. Might as well program in assembly. Not a ton of fun. Okay, other languages maybe meet in the middle somewhere. Java, it's not super fast, but it's maybe a little bit nicer to program in than C, C++. But it's still, you got to system.out.println. That's no fun. No one likes to system.out.println. You just want to print or println. So I think the V doesn't have a yes but, other than some like minute things about it being in beta, right? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's do entire screen and share it. And hopefully you can all see my screen now. I don't really have a good way of feedback other than I see a little icon there. It says it's screen sharing. So I'm gonna trust it. Well, the V programming language is in beta right now, version 0.3. Unfortunately, that means that it's got some bugs, some things that are not fully worked out, some syntax that's gonna maybe change in the future. But what it is doing right now is really great. So we can look at this example here, where we have the main function, and we do like this for area in areas. That's great. That's Pythonic in my mind, at least. People might argue it came from other things first, but like I said, I love Python. I love that part of Python. It's easy to read, like left to right. But we also have these curly braces, right? Part of Python that I don't like is the white space. All right, we're 3 minutes past the hour. I think that we have given enough time. We can go ahead and dive in, because this is not the V evangelism hour. This is for exorcism. So let's do this. We're gonna do, it's Mechanical March, right? V is one of those languages for Mechanical March. I'm signed. If you want to follow along, then we're gonna go to tracks up here and go to V. I actually haven't done any of the exercises. As much as I have maintained it and built up the exercises, I haven't done them on V, so it's all locked. So we're gonna have to go ahead and get started with the hello world, but that's gonna be good for us, I think. Actually, before I get started, let me pull up the docs, which is just an MD file, which is fantastic. It's a markdown file. It has all of these docs in it. We might want to reference that later, so I'll leave that there. And yeah, let's go to the hello world exercise. I'm excited for this. I hope you all are too. Okay, so I think hopefully everyone knows what hello world is, but basically we're just trying to make a program that says hello world. In this case, really what we want to do is have a function that returns hello world, I believe. So I'm going to do a lot of this on the command line and through VS Codium. If you know VS Code, VS Codium is a Libra open source version of that, because VS Code itself is actually open source, but then they put in some non-free binaries inside of it. VS Codium just takes it, does the build process, and spits it out. It's very nice. I appreciate it. All right, so we have downloaded our VLang hello world. Here we are in hello world.v. And as we can see, everything has to start with a module declaration. We're doing module main for all of these just because it makes things easy on us. What we have here is a function called hello, doesn't take any arguments, and it returns a string. Here's the string that we're returning right now, goodbye Mars. Let's go ahead, and I don't feel like typing that because I'm going to make a mistake. So I'm just going to copy that hello world that we're supposed to do and plop it right there. Okay, so now that we're here, I can actually one more. We're gonna move over to hello world. VLang/hello world, and we're gonna run our test. V test run test.v. There's the command. So this is the basic one. It just shows you, look, everything passed. That's great. A little bit more advanced, if you want some stats, you can do -stats. That will give you some things like runtime, compilation time, how many lines per second it was able to do. We see 97,000 lines per second. That's pretty good. And we see only that there was one assert and it passed the one assert. So we're good there. Let's go ahead and submit this. And if I remember correctly, let's pull up the documentation actually. We want to submit. And we want to do our VLang /VLang. So not gonna, oh, we are already in it, my bad. Exorcism submit our hello world.v. And let's follow that link. See where it goes. Looks like we're done here. Everything passed, so we're gonna mark that as complete. Sure, let's share my hello world with the community. And let's go look at some more exercises. All right, so we've got a lot of good options. Actually, this Collat's conjecture is new. If we've got time, I might get to that. But I think what we're going to do reverse string because it's easy, and then maybe we'll get to space age. So let's go ahead and get this going in our local. I just want to go back one, and I'm going to cd into reverse string. Actually, I've got Z sharp, just reverse string. There we go. Okay, and now that I'm there in the terminal, let's go ahead and look at what we have here. Actually, let's look at our prompt. We just want to reverse a string. So our input is cool. Our output is Luke. I guess that's how you pronounce that. Luke, Loke. I don't know. Someone yell at me later and tell me how that's pronounced. All right, so now we actually have an argument here. If you're used to C or Java or any language like that, you're probably used to seeing the type before the actual variable name. In this case, it comes after. I'm not sure if I like that better or if I'm just indifferent to it, but I don't think that's that much of a change. I believe Go is similar. In fact, V is very much inspired by Go. All right, so we're going to do the cheater way first, because if you look at the documentation, fun fact, there is a built-in array.reverse method, and we can just call that because in V, strings are actually, let's going to go up here to where strings are. Strings are a read-only array of bytes. That's one thing to note. In V, things are by default immutable. And so if we want to make it mutable, we have to give the mute tag, like MUT, just to say, hey, I want to be able to change this later. But I don't think we need to do that here, because what we're going to do is we're just going to create a new variable. We'll call this rev stir for reverse string. And then when we're declaring a variable, we want to use this colon equals. That's different. There are two different operators in V. I guess there are three operators that use the equal sign. There's the declaration operator, which has colon equals, similar to how like in math you would define something. And then there's the just equals, right? Just that is going to be our assignment operator, which is for a mutable thing, we want to assign it later. And then, of course, the other one I'm referring to is the equals equals, which is checking for if two things are actually the same. Okay, so we're going to just do reverse string is string dot reverse. All right, and what we can do is v stats test run test. Oh, of course, I forgot to return it. All right, this is live coding at its finest, which means things are going to go wrong. I'm going to get things wrong all the time. So as you can see, we have 6 different tests here, and in all of them, it passed. You can see the total runtime was 0 milliseconds, and the total runtime for doing all of it was 233 milliseconds, because that includes our compilation time, which is given here. Yeah, so that's the cheater way. But this is, I feel like this is not super cheating, because we didn't have to import anything. This is just built into V. It's another thing that I like about V. A lot of the functionality that developers are going to use a lot, that you'll use a lot as a programmer, are just built in. You don't have to build it yourself. You don't have to go importing things. A lot of the things that you want to do are already built in. Okay, let's see if we can't actually do this properly and not just string.reverse it. Okay, so thinking through how we want to do this, we have a string and we want to just return it in reverse order. So we could start from the beginning of the string. Let's say we've got cool. Start from the beginning of the string, take our C, and then put a C here. And then take our O and put it in front, right? Maybe this is how you would do it if you were going to use a linked list. I think we're going to use arrays. If we're going to use arrays, maybe the best way to do this is we start at the end, right? We start with our L, and we put that at the front, because we know that's what we want to be at the front. And then we take our O, we put it next, and then our O, and then our C. So that should work too, just with our little test right there. So how can we do that? Well, if we look at the docs, there is a .len parameter for our arrays. So because string is an array, we can start at length -1. For loops are very nice in V. We're going to start at string.length -1. Or I guess what we want to do is we want to have an iterator for I in string.length -1 ... to give us a range, and we want to go down to 0. I don't know if we are allowed to do in descending order like that. I don't know that I've ever tried that. If we look at for loops, we can see that there are a number of ways to do this. We can do an iterator. So if we have something like an array, we can just iterate over all of them, starting from the beginning, going to the end. That would work. We could also do, we have a custom iterator. We can loop over maps. Here's our range. Low to high means exclusive range, which represents all values from low up to and not including high. We have a condition for, a bare for, or a C for. I'm curious to see if the going down will work. So let's try that. And before this, actually, let's declare a new mutable reverse string. And it's gonna be an empty string we've got here. And for I in string.length -1 down to 0, that might need to be down to -1, depending on how that exclusive works, if it does work at all. We're going to append to our reverse string. We can use this double less than is append. So we're going to reverse string append string I. And then at the end, we're going to return reverse string. All right, let's go ahead and see how that works. And we get an error. We're trying to shift on type string, so that's not going to work. Can we do a plus equals for our string? Let's do strings. Go back up here. And here we have strings. Wow. Plus is used to concatenate strings. We can also do plus equals to append to a string. So let's try that. It might not work because when we get the specific index, we're getting a character, which is not actually a string. And so we'll see if this works. Although we didn't get an error that we're going from high down to low. So maybe this is going to be okay. So we're going to reverse string plus equals string at I. Let's find out what that does. Yeah, okay, so here we have a string. That's another nice thing about V. The error messages are very helpful. So we have a string on our left-hand side, and our right-hand side we have a U8, a byte, which is a character. And so that is not going to fly. So what we need to do is cast that to a string. I suppose, yeah, a rune. A rune is what they call it in V. It's a byte. It's a character. So we can convert it to string by using the .str method. Oh. Yeah, index out of range, -1. So this is going to, we actually want to go down to 1, because what it's going to do is it's going to iterate until it gets to 1 less than this. And so we're going to try that one more time. Oh, still getting an index out of range exception. The string.length -1 is not going to work if our string length is 0. I think that might be our issue. If the string length is 0, so, all right, let's do, well, let's see, we've got a couple options here. If our string length is, we could just check to see if our string length is 0. That would work. So if string.length equals 0, we're just going to return our string. And then if for everything else, we'll go through this. Let's see what happens. Oh. Okay, so something is not working. We're getting bad asserts. Our left value is, it's always returning nothing, which is strange. Let's try a print ln string I.str. It's not going to print that because I'm testing it, and when it's evaluating tests, it doesn't print. Well, that is unfortunate. I'm missing something here. It's probably something very obvious. It's probably this reversed for loop. Well, let's see. Let's find that C for, right, where we can define things like this. So let's do for I is equal to string length. We want to do I is greater than or equal to 0, and I minus minus. We're going to do that. Pull that out, because that shouldn't be needed anymore. Try this one more time. Getting an index out of range exception on 0, 0. Ah, I see. I should be string.length minus 1. And then that won't run. Ah. I guess our str doesn't work for characters. Character. Let's find out. We want .ascii string, not .str. There we are. That is not the cheater way. That took longer than I was expecting. And I'm sure I missed something in there. And this is using the C4 makes me a little bit unhappy. But we got there eventually. We did some good problem solving there. I hope you are still watching this stream and not too unconfident in my abilities after bungling that a little bit. I did warn some people that I was about to bungle before all of this. But yeah, let's go ahead and submit that. Reverse string.v. Go check it out. What do we have? Looks great. Everything passed. And we're going to mark that as complete. And just return to the exercise here. So I think what we want to do next is check out the space age. So the goal here is a little bit more complicated, and we'll see how bad I bungle this one. I hope you all can bear with me. But our goal here is that we have an age in seconds that we're given, and we're going to calculate how old someone would be in, say, like Venus years or Saturn years. And so imagine if someone was exactly 29.44, etc., Earth years old, then if that's how long it takes Saturn to go around the sun once, so there would be 1 Saturn year old. Or this example here, really we're given it in seconds. So if you're that's 1 billion seconds old, you're 31.69 Earth years old. And you'd be less than that on Venus, less than that on Mercury, more than that on Mars and all of the gas giants. And also, you hear about Pluto, right? That's messed up, unfortunately. So we're not going to include Pluto here. But let's go ahead and get this downloaded and get cracking on it. Okay, so we've got the space age file. I'm going to see slash space age, just so we're there. And here we're given 2 arguments to our function. We're just going to call it age. And we're given seconds, which is a float, specifically F64. There are a couple different types of floats in V. This is a 64-bit float. We're also given a planet, which is a string. And we know that this string is going to match one of these: Mercury, Venus, Earth, etc., etc. Although if it's not one of those 8 listed, we should return an error, which is why we have this bang in front of the F64. That specifies that this function could return is it an option type or a result type? I believe it's a result type. Option type. So in V, there are 2 different error types that you can return. There's option types, which are given by question mark, and result types, which are given by the exclamation mark. Sometimes I'll refer to that as a bang, if you haven't heard of that. When I say bang, I'm talking about that. And so, sometimes you want to return, like usually you return this user, but if you can't find the user, then you are going to return an error. And our error is of this format. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and use this. Oh yeah, that's an important note. V does not have this throw, try, catch blocks. If you want to catch or like deal with an option or a result type, you use an or, right? So user is defined as this, which could be a result type, or in the case that it is a result type as opposed to this user type that we're expecting, we're going to println this error and return, which basically says don't do anything, right? We're returning nothing here. There is no null in V, so it's just kind of like leaves this empty. Yeah, okay, so going back here, one of the nice things that we can do with V is matching. So we've got match commands, which we'll just jump down to here. And so if we're given something, we can match it using match, and then what we're trying to match, and then what we're trying to match it with. So that's nice here because we don't have to do a bunch of if-elses. We're going to match on our string. So if we go back over here, we're going to actually let's back up a little bit. Think about how we want to do this. We're given it in seconds, and we want to convert to how many of that planet's years. So maybe if I'm going to do this, this might not be the most code golfy way, but I'm gonna do an age on Earth function. Age on Earth, and we're just going to give it seconds F64, and this is going to return another F64. And what this will do is this just does the easy part of, we were given it in seconds, right? This one tells us how many seconds is in an Earth year. So we're going to divide our seconds by this value and return that many Earth years. This is like an intermediate calculation that you probably don't need to do, or you could just do without doing it as a function. But I find that this probably makes it a little bit easier. So we're going to just return seconds divided by that. And up here, we're going to do, we'll say Earth age is defined as age on Earth of seconds. And then we're going to match planet, right? Match it to, we go back over here, and we look at our match example. We're going to just take each of these, and I chronically cannot spell, so we're going to just copy paste all of it so I don't bungle that part at least. All right, match it to all of these. Okay, I can spell Mars. That's fine. Jupiter, a little bit harder. Why? That's interesting. My AI autocomplete thought that the next thing after Mars should be Easter. Not sure where that came from. Right now I'm just setting up all these lines. So there we go. So we've got Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, right? And then what we want is, if we look over here, an else block, right? This is what happens when nothing matches. So we're going to drop an else block in here. And what we want to do, let's get that one out of the way first. We want to make planet be Actually, I think else we're just going to return an error right away. Return, I believe it's error like that. Yes, okay. It's an error function. We're going to return error, and what we want it to say, I'm gonna cheat a little bit here because this is not super well specified, but it is in the test. We want to say that like whatever you give it is not a valid planet. This is a great opportunity to talk about string interpolation in V. So you can do similar to maybe like Bash or other of those like Linux tool programming languages. You have this uh, $sign, that's the word, and then open and close brackets, and then you can give it whatever argument you're looking for. So here we're going to say planet. You can do it without the open and close braces, but that is a little bit less explicit. And I very much like making things readable and explicit. So we're going to go ahead and put them in. So error planet is not a, did I say valid planet? Yes, it's not a valid planet. Okay. So for each of these, we're going to match planet to something. If we go back to our match example, and so after our match, I believe we want to have open the curly brace. Let's go. Here we go. Match. Yeah, open and close curly brace, and then what we want it to be. So we can do this two ways. I think what we're going to do here is we're going to say that we want all of this to give us the same outcome, right? We're going to have an age. So we're going to do planet age is defined as this match statement, which is great because this is just going to become whatever comes out of here. And if it's else, we're going to return the error right away, so it doesn't matter. So Mercury is going to be Earth age, and then is it going to be multiply or divide by this value? Let's see if it's, let's do some dimensional analysis real fast. We've got if Mercury, one Mercury year equals 0.240 blah 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 Earth years. So it's one Mercury year divided by that many Earth years. 0.26 yada yada Earth years, and we're going to multiply that by too much. We're going to multiply that by some number of Earth years up here, and that's going to give us some number of Mercury years, right? So we're going to have like X Earth years. So these are going to cancel, right? We're going to kill our Earth years on the top and the bottom. And what we're going to be left with is just Mercury years. So we want to say, yeah, X Earth years divided by our conversion factor. So Earth age divided by our given conversion factor here, which I'm definitely going to copy paste because ain't no way I'm going to remember all of that and get it right. So actually, before I do that, let's take all of this and copy paste it a bunch of times because I'm going to do the same thing. This is probably not great when it comes to drying up your code. Don't repeat yourself, but it is quick and it is dirty, and I think it's going to work. So let's find out. I might have done my math wrong. Someone in the audience is probably screaming at me in the chat saying, Ethan, it's not how that works. To which I say, I can't see the chat. Maybe I'll see it later. I hope you're all enjoying yourself as much as I am. This is fun. I love I love coding. I love coding in V especially. I love problem solving, um, and V is just so nice for getting to actually get to the point where you can solve the problem. Uh, I know it didn't seem like that the first time I tried the reverse string. Although to be fair, the cheater method is how you would do it in the real world. So I don't know. One nice thing we can do right now, let's V format this. So if you V format and then point it to a file, it'll in the command line tell you what that file should look like. And then if you hit it with V format -W for write, it will write it to the file. And that nicely puts a lot of things on like the same line. Oftentimes it'll do that with the match. I'm not sure why it's not doing that here, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and let's test this. The stats test, run test. We do get, oh, right. Sorry, I got the planet age and then I never returned it. I always forget to return planet age. But look how nice that error message is. You don't have to go searching through everything. And there we go. Basically, first try. I'm not gonna count that. First try. We got to a point where we can calculate our age on another planet using some assignment or declaration operators, matching, some string interpolation, and some little helper function. If you wanted to, this Earth age here is just the seconds you were given divided by that value. You could just copy paste that over and over again. But it's nice to see how you're going to call a function from inside of another function. All right, let's go ahead and submit that. What do we want to do? Space h.v. Go make sure that it passes all of the automated tests. Ooh, it does. That's beautiful. All right, mark that as complete. All iterations. Let's look at some more exercises. I was not planning on getting through that much that fast, so this is great. If you all are good with me continuing, I'm going to continue. Let's try to do the Collatz conjecture, because I haven't actually solved this, so I will have to solve this on the fly and then figure out how to do it in V. I did briefly look at, I believe, was it Andre? I apologize if you're watching this stream. I did review your PR, merged it in, and I don't remember your name. I'm sorry. I believe it starts with an A. But here we go. We have the Collatz conjecture, 3x plus 1. I've seen it 3n plus 1. Yeah, see, here later we call it n. So why is it 3x plus 1 here? Interesting. All right, well, if it's even, we're going to divide by 2 to get n over 2. And if it's odd, we're going to multiply by 3 and add 1. And we're going to repeat forever. And the conjecture states that you will always reach 1. I believe it's still a conjecture. It's one of those like problems that it's really simple to explain to someone, really hard to prove. So we're gonna see how many steps required to reach 1. So okay, so 9 steps. We don't include the first one, which is our input. So after the input, we are going to count the steps. Okay, how do we want to do this? You could, of course, brute force this. Right, just start and calculate like going up and down until you get to the end. That might be the best way to do it. I do think that like at some point you might hit a value that you've seen before, in which case we might want to build up a table. Although I suppose we're going to run this one at a time, so it doesn't particularly matter if we build up a table unless we store it to the disk somehow. So let's go with the sort of brute forcey option here. Let's close those off and pull up our collapse conjecture.v. We start with number int, bang int. So it can return an error. When does it return an error? I suppose when n is non-positive. So if we start with 0 or a negative value, we should return an error. All right, let's go ahead and just get that out of the way. Actually, let me just look at the tests real fast and say negative value is an error. So, interesting. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to plug in. Oh, okay, here. Okay, here we don't say that we have to have a certain error. We just say that it has to be an error. Okay, that's cool. So let's go ahead and we can error out with anything. So if number is less than or equal to 0, we're going to return an error saying input number must be positive, exclamation mark, because we really care about that. Okay. Oh, I mean, I can't believe I didn't mention this already, but come on, no semicolons. I mean, you can have semicolons in between your C4 loop, but no semicolons at the end of every line. That's a great part of V. That's absolutely a benefit. Okay, so if number is less than or equal to 0, we're going to return an error. Cool. What if it's not less than or equal to 0? Well, then we're going to start there, and we can do this with there's only one type of loop in V, which is a for loop. But we can use a for loop like a while loop. Let's see, a condition for. This is similar to a while loop in other languages. We give it some value, and we just go until this condition fails. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to start with a counter. Counter, start it at 0. Then we're going to do for. We're actually, our number is not given as immutable. It is immutable. It is not given as a mutable value. And so if we want to change it, we're going to need to create a new mutable n and define that as number right off the bat. And then we can play with n to our heart's desire. Might be a way to do this without these mutable things. But for now, I'm just going to try to solve this. All right, so for n is greater than 1. Actually, let's do not equal to 1. We're going to, I think we can increase the counter at the start or end of our loop. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to do counter plus plus. And then we're going to do, we can actually say n is equal to, and then an expression. If n mod 2 equals 0, which means if n is even, we're going to n divide by 2. Otherwise, we're going to say that that's equal to 3 times n plus 1 and go with that. Although, actually, I want that inside of my for loop. Why did I put it outside? There we go. All right, so we're going to go until n, and then we're going to return counter. And $5 says I'm going to get an error when I try to test this, but we're gonna try it anyway, because that's the best way to figure out what's wrong with your program is just run the test. Oh, hey, all right, I should not go to Vegas. Look at that, I got it. Oh. Yeah, okay, so let me point out some V stuff here, in case you missed it while I was going. This, we can just assign things to an if statement, which is, I think, pretty cool. Um, this is similar. This is similar to some functional programming languages, maybe. Um, OCaml, if you know that. I just did that for the Functional February challenge, and so that's on my mind right now, where you can assign things to the outcome of an if else. Um, but yeah, it's cool to see that in V. V is sort of a nice middle ground, I think, between imperative and functional programming. There are some things called structs, but they're not really full objects. And doing methods on them is a little different. But yeah, so that's cool from a V standpoint. We're going to go ahead and submit that. Oh, I am not back in space age. Oh, hold on. I ran the space age test. That's on me. Sorry. I should probably just stay in here, and then I can do. I can run the test from here. Then I don't get that problem again. So what I want to do is v stats test Collat's conjecture / run test. Okay, that worked too. Okay. I did not celebrate. I did celebrate prematurely, but it was vindicated in the end. So I think we're okay. I think all's well that ends well. Yeah. I don't know if anyone has suggestions for how to make this better. Maybe not use this mutable n counter here. Maybe not use a while for loop, which seems a little less, V idiomatic. I highly suggest that you submit an exercise on V or on the V track for exorcism for this Collat's conjecture, and then request mentoring. And I will probably see it because I think I'm the only person who's mentoring in V right now. Also, a call if you want to mentor in V. If you think that that's something you'd be interested in, do it. Be great to have more people mentoring and like learning this language because personally, I think it's great. All right, well, that went pretty fast. So I've got time for another problem. Actually, once I submit it, submit Collat's conjecture / Collat's conjecture.v. Oops, exorcism. Submit. No, not exorcism. Oops. Let's go check this out. Make sure it worked. Okay. I'm so fired. I'm fired from volunteering. All right. Nobody tell Jonathan. All right. Let's show me some more exercises. What do you guys think? Can we? How? If we look back at our dashboard. Oh, hey, look, I'm streaming. No way, guys. Oh, it's feedback. I don't like that. No. Okay, wait. I did want to go to 12 and 23 here. And see 3 out of 5. Do you think we can get two more done? All right. I can't look at the chat, so I don't know what people are more interested in me doing. I am not going to try robot name because I did that. There's a reason I labeled it hard. In other languages that are more object oriented, this might be super easy. In V, it ends up being a little bit trickier. Queen attack ends up just taking a lot of thinking. That's why I labeled that one hard. Grade school, again, more object-oriented programming languages might be better with that. And again, V does have structs, right? If we look at some structs, but they're kind of just like Java data classes. Structs kind of just hold some data in a way that's a little bit nicer than maybe like a map. And you can have some methods. If we look at methods, which basically like you prepend it with what it operates on. And so like what we would say is this function operates on users, or this function of users is called can register, and it's going to update the user. Actually, No, sorry. In this case, it's not going to update. The update syntax is given later. Update. Struct update syntax. Here we go. You return a modified version of an object. And you can do this as a method too if you want to. But here it's shown not as that. It's pretty cool. You give it like dot 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 and then the name of the argument, and you just return user of dot 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 and then whatever you want to change. So change, like here we're registering the user, so we're just changing is registered over to true. That's pretty nice. But yeah, methods are a little funky. All right, so I think we can get through one more. Let's look at the exercises again. Determining if a year is a leap year, I feel like it's classic. I think I've done that in every single language that I've done on exorcism. So let's go ahead and do that one. All right, back over here. I'm gonna download that. And well, I'm not gonna move around down there. I've learned my lesson. I may be an old dog, but I can learn a few new tricks. All right, we're gonna look at leap and then leap.v. And what we have is a function called isLeapYear, which we want to return true if it's a leap year in the Gregorian calendar. All we're given is the year, and we want to return a Boolean. No errors here. Usually, if you're actually solving this for yourself, you want to do the work to determine if it should return an error, like a result type or an option type, just for the sake of being able to test things well in V. For this V track, I've elected to make it so that it's clear, right? So that you know when things are supposed to return that or not. But if you write stuff on your own, that's something that you'll have to figure out for yourself. Okay, so here's the trick. For this, they give you everything in the wrong order, right? So they say every year that's evenly divisible by 4, except, unless, right? So what we want to do is we want to work backwards, right? First, check to see if the year is evenly divisible by 400. Because if it's evenly divisible by 400, then it is a leap year. Yes, right? It is a leap year. If it's evenly divisible by 100, then it is not, right? Because we're checking backwards. So we check this one first. If it's not evenly divisible by 400 and it is evenly divisible by 100, then it is not a leap year. And then if it's evenly divisible by 4, it is. So what we're going to do is do this in reverse order. And so we're going to check if if year mod 400 equals 0, we're going to return true. Otherwise, else if year mod 100 equals 0, we're going to return false. Oh, I love that AI autocomplete. Else if year mod 4 equals 0, we're going to return true. And then I'll just put it in else for completion's sake. Else we're going to return false. All right, that was fast. So if you didn't catch it, we're working backwards because we're starting with our highest value, right? So if it's divisible by 4, we don't really know, like, because now we've got to check, okay, is it divisible by 100, divisible by 400? We don't really know what our state is, right? But if we start with divisible by 400, we know exactly what our state is. That is like, if it's divisible by 400, it is always, every single time, it's a leap year. And then if it's not divisible by 400, we're going to get past this. And then we know, once we're here, if it's divisible by 100, it is never a leap year. And then we're going to get down here. Like if it is not divisible by 100, we're going to get down here. And at this point, we know if it's divisible by 4, it's a leap year. And if none of this else is true, then we can return false. And there probably is a way to do this with, just like a single return statement that uses short circuiting. But I am not clever enough for that. And I like code that is readable. It's always good to remember that it takes way longer uh, to read code than it does to write it. So, all right, we're gonna do v stats test. I'm gonna do leap slash run test, and there we go. Everything passes. I am vindicated after my bungling of that first one. We're coming up on the hour. I don't think I'm gonna try for another one, at least on this stream. If you enjoyed this stream, if you had a good time, like I did, then reach out to me. Ping me on the V or the yeah, I guess the V category in the Exorcism forum. Say please come back and do another stream, and then I will. I will absolutely. Maybe I'll tackle one of the hard ones on the stream, live. I will bungle it poorly, and well, I mean, we'll get through it together. But let me go ahead and submit this. Submit leap slash leap.v. Oh my gosh, I always forget that. Exorcism. Submit. All right. There we go. Passed. Mark this complete. Confirm that. So yeah, there are some excellent exercises here in V. I know I didn't do the ones that you're really supposed to for the mechanical march challenge, but I'm just happy to get a badge. I'm just happy to be here with you all. And I hope that you have a fantastic night. I'm gonna stop my sharing now. We're gonna go back to just my face, and I know that yeah, I wasn't able to look at the chat. Like I said, ping me, ping Jonathan, say please bring Ethan back. Don't fire him, and maybe I'll be back. But that's all I've got for you. We got through some exercises. That was great. I hope you learned about V. I hope you love it as much as I do. And yeah, like I said, I hope you all have a fantastic night, and I'll catch you on the flip side.